The year is 2023, images flash across our screens, wildfires rage across vast forests, leaving behind a trail of devastation. Snowstorms blanket cities in an icy grip, bringing life to a standstill. Hurricanes, monstrous and unforgiving, lash coastlines with relentless fury. These are not scenes from a disaster movie, this is our reality. A stark reminder of the raw power of nature and the fragility of human life. We have built our civilizations on the foundation of stability. We've grown accustomed to the predictability of seasons, yet the Earth, our home, is a dynamic entity. Its rhythms are ancient and powerful. We are witnessing a shift, a change in the patterns. The consequences are all around us. These natural disasters, once considered rare, are becoming increasingly frequent. They leave behind a trail of destruction, both visible and invisible. We see the shattered homes and the flooded streets. We hear the stories of loss and displacement. But there is another story, one that unfolds silently, often hidden from immediate view. This is the story of the long-term health impacts of natural disasters. Natural disasters leave a deep impact on our health. The physical injuries are often the most obvious. Broken bones, cuts, burns, these are immediate and require urgent medical attention, yet the invisible wounds run deeper. Smoke inhalation from wildfires can scar our lungs. It can exacerbate existing respiratory conditions like asthma. The stress of displacement, of losing one's home and possessions, can lead to anxiety, depression, and PTSD. In the aftermath of a snowstorm, hypothermia becomes a real threat. Exposure to freezing temperatures can lead to frostbite. The risk of heart attacks increases as people struggle to shovel heavy snow. The isolation and disruption to daily life can have a profound impact on mental well-being. Hurricanes bring their own set of health challenges. Floodwaters often carry contaminants. This can lead to outbreaks of infectious diseases. Injuries are common from flying debris and collapsing structures. Understanding these health risks is crucial. Wildfires, once confined to remote forests, are now encroaching upon our urban landscapes. They are becoming more frequent. They are becoming more intense. This is due to a combination of factors: climate change, human activity, and forest management practices. The health risks posed by these infernos are significant. They demand our attention. The most immediate threat comes from the smoke. Wildfire smoke is a complex mixture of gases and fine particles. These particles, known as PM 2.5, are small enough to penetrate deep into our lungs. They can even enter our bloodstream. Exposure to wildfire smoke can cause a range of respiratory problems. These range from coughing and wheezing to more serious conditions like bronchitis and pneumonia. People with pre-existing respiratory conditions like asthma and COPD are particularly vulnerable. Wildfire smoke can trigger asthma attacks and exacerbate COPD symptoms. It can lead to hospitalizations and even death. Emily Carter was a high school senior when the Marshall Fire swept through her town in Colorado. The fire, fueled by dry conditions and high winds, destroyed over 1,000 homes and businesses. Emily's family home was reduced to ashes. They escaped with just the clothes on their backs. In the immediate aftermath of the fire, Emily experienced respiratory problems. She had difficulty breathing, coughed constantly, and felt a tightness in her chest. Her doctor diagnosed her with bronchitis, a common ailment among wildfire survivors. As the physical symptoms subsided, Emily began to experience the psychological toll of the fire. She had nightmares, flashbacks, and panic attacks. The trauma of losing her home, her community, and her sense of security manifested as anxiety and depression. Emily's story is not unique. It highlights the profound and long-lasting health impacts of wildfires. Section 5. The silent peril. Navigating snowstorms and blizzards. Snowstorms, often romanticized for their beauty, can be as deadly as any other natural disaster. The dangers are often hidden beneath a blanket of white, deceptively quiet and still. Yet beneath the serene facade lies a threat that can quickly turn deadly: hypothermia. Hypothermia sets in when the body loses heat faster than it can produce it. Prolonged exposure to freezing temperatures, especially in wet or windy conditions, can lead to a dangerous drop in body temperature. Early symptoms include shivering, confusion, and slurred speech. As hypothermia progresses, it can lead to organ failure, coma, and even death. Another risk associated with snowstorms is frostbite. It occurs when skin and underlying tissues freeze. It most commonly affects extremities like fingers, toes, nose, and ears. In severe cases, frostbite can result in permanent tissue damage, and amputation may even be necessary. Section 6. John Riley's tale lost and found in the whiteout. John Riley, a seasoned park ranger, knew the mountains like the back of his hand, but even his experience couldn't prepare him for the blizzard that struck without warning. He was on patrol, miles from the ranger station, when the storm hit. Visibility dropped to zero. The wind howled like a banshee, whipping the snow into a blinding whiteout. John, disoriented and losing feeling in his extremities, stumbled through the blinding snow. He knew that hypothermia was a real threat. He needed to find shelter fast. He remembered a small cave, a hidden refuge he had stumbled upon years ago. Guided by instinct and a fading memory, he trudged on. He found the cave just as the early stages of hypothermia began to set in. His fingers were numb, his speech slurred. He spent the night huddled in the cave, his body shivering uncontrollably. The storm raged on, but John was safe. Section 7. Fury of the Storm. Health in the eye of a hurricane. Hurricanes, the most powerful storms on Earth, are a force of nature that inspires awe and terror in equal measure. These swirling behemoths of wind and rain can level coastal cities, displace millions, and leave behind a trail of destruction that takes years to rebuild. But the devastation extends beyond the physical landscape. It seeps into the lives of survivors, impacting their health and well-being in profound ways. One of the most significant health risks in the aftermath of a hurricane is the spread of infectious diseases. Floodwaters, often contaminated with sewage, chemicals, and debris, can become breeding grounds for bacteria and viruses. Wounds exposed to floodwaters are susceptible to infection. Waterborne illnesses such as cholera, typhoid fever, and hepatitis A can spread rapidly in overcrowded shelters. The physical injuries caused by hurricanes are often severe. Flying debris, collapsing structures, and fallen trees can cause blunt force trauma, lacerations, and fractures. The psychological trauma of surviving a hurricane can be as debilitating as the physical injuries. Section 8. Maria's story, rebuilding life after the deluge. Maria Sanchez, a grandmother living in Puerto Rico, will never forget the fury of Hurricane Maria. The storm, one of the deadliest in U.S. history, tore through her island home with relentless force. It ripped the roof off her house, leaving her and her family exposed to the elements. In the storm's aftermath, Maria faced a new set of challenges. The power outage made communication impossible. Access to clean water and sanitation became a daily struggle. Food and medical supplies dwindled. Maria, already struggling with diabetes, found it difficult to manage her condition without access to proper medication and healthcare. The emotional toll was equally devastating. The loss of her home, the fear for her family's safety, and the uncertainty of the future weighed heavily on her. It took months for Maria to rebuild her life. Section 9. Weathering the Storm, a call to preparedness. The increasing frequency and intensity of natural disasters are a stark reminder of our planet's changing climate. We can no longer afford to be passive observers. We must become active participants in our own safety and well-being. We must prepare for the storms ahead, both literally and metaphorically. Disaster preparedness is not just about having an emergency kit and an evacuation plan. It is about understanding the specific health risks associated with each type of disaster and taking steps to mitigate those risks. It is about building resilient communities that can support each other in times of need. We must educate ourselves about the health impacts of wildfires, snowstorms, hurricanes, and other natural disasters. We must learn how to protect our respiratory health from wildfire smoke, how to prevent hypothermia and frostbite during winter storms, and how to stay safe from floodwaters and infectious diseases in the aftermath of hurricanes. We must advocate for policies that address climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and promote sustainable practices. The time for action is now.